JT Daniels has entered the transfer portal. This reported by Andrea Adelson yesterday. Daniels was the starting quarterback at USC before going down with ACL injury and was one of three guys that ended up playing at quarterback for Clay Helton's Trojans, the others being, of course, Kedon Slovis, who was the most productive of them, and then Matt Fink, who showed up and beat down Utah as the third string quarterback. Now, Slovis was the Pac-12 Offensive Freshman of the Year, passed for 3,500 yards and 30 touchdowns with just 9 interceptions as a true freshman. Had a remarkable year when nobody expected him to do much of anything. And Daniels was supposed to be coming into his own in Graham Harrell's offense. And this was the guy that was the quarterback at Mater Dei before Bryce Young took over the job, and the guy that threw the most touchdown passes to Brew McCoy. Brew McCoy is a former 5-star wide receiver, athlete according to the rankings, but wanted to play wideout, ended up committing to Texas, or committing to USC, then going to Texas, then going back to USC. He's at USC after taking a redshirt year and battled an illness that really kept him from playing at all last year, even if he would have been eligible. But I was looking forward to watching McCoy and JT Daniels play, because Daniels coming out of the 2018 class, McCoy coming out of the 2019 class, two guys that grew up in the Southern California area that were also going to be joined by defensive back from St. John Bosco, Chris Steele, who is playing corner there and had gone to Florida, transferred back after a disagreement about who his roommate was going to be. His roommate at the time was a guy that was being investigated for a sexual assault. He didn't want to stay with him. Dan Mullen said, wait it out. And he said, nah, just go back home. And the reason I bring up Chris Steele and St. John Bosco is because that's the place where DJ Ungagale is coming out of. And he's the 6'5", 253-pound quarterback that is a freshman at Clemson right now. So that area with Long Beach Poly and St. John Bosco and Mater Dei has produced a tremendous amount of players. And some of them have gone to Oregon, some of them have gone to Washington, some have gone to USC, some have gone to UCLA, some have gone to Cal. Some have, frankly, just left California altogether and tried to make it do what it do. Now, why I think this is most interesting is because JT Daniels might be the best quarterback on the market that has entered in this 2020 offseason. And I'm including KJ Costello, who ends up grad transferring to Mississippi State. He's going to run Mike Leach's air raid. And Chase Bryce, who is backing up Trevor Lawrence, who is probably going to end up being the starting quarterback at Duke this year. Now, Daniels is not going to command the kind of attention that Justin Fields did when he decided that he was going to enter the portal and probably end up at Ohio State, and did. But this is a really great quarterback and a guy that was a natural leader and not necessarily scoring off the charts with his athleticism, but he has all the tools and he's a tremendously smart player. So looking around the college football landscape for next year, right, I think it would be interesting to see who tries to go and take him away, because you can always do with a great quarterback. Always. If you have your guy, then you have your guy. And I understand that. But this is just the kind of player that could end up at Notre Dame following an Ian Book because he's that good. Or might want to end up at Oregon to battle with Anthony Brown, who's grad transferred from Boston College to Oregon, and Tyler Shuck, who is supposed to be the starting quarterback following Justin Herbert up there. Or perhaps could end up at Washington to battle Sam Hewart, Brock Heward's kid, for the starting job there. I mean, there's a number of places, and I've got to give kudos to Clay Helton, who just put it out there, telling ESPN, we have been working with JT and his family, as well as our compliance office, to help him navigate the process of entering his name in the transfer portal. It is his desire to explore all of his options going into the 2020 season. We will continue to support JT in every way possible and help him through this decision, including the option of staying with our football team. So he's also, like you would expect, trying to recruit him to stay. And when you look at this 21 class and you see what follows a Caleb Williams or a Brock Vandagriff, perhaps you would want to go and get a JT Daniels, because you're looking at maybe Caden Salter might be the next best guy after Drake May, who is not committed just yet, although Salter probably ends up at Baylor or Arkansas. I would have to believe at this point with Garrett Nussmeier probably ending up at LSU. When the dominoes start to fall, we'll watch them all. I'm looking around and going, there's some other places for him to go, right? But like, would he go to UCLA? I don't think so, because that ain't really what they do. Or at least it's not what I thought they did. And then Chip Kelly was able to turn a couple of players that, quite frankly, I didn't think could run his scheme into guys that could absolutely run his scheme. And I'm still not sold on UCLA being any good here in the next couple of years, especially as they've seen a mass exodus of guys leaving their program, like 30 since UCLA took in Chip Kelly as the head coach, including one Chris Murray, who is transferring to Oklahoma. So that doesn't feel like it's going to fit. Arizona State doesn't feel like it's going to fit either because Jayden Daniels is there. Maybe you take a look at him in Arizona, but I doubt it because there's not really a whole lot to say there about what he could do as far as helping that offense run. And when you look into the SEC, which I kind of think is an interesting space to be, I don't see a good landing spot for him. You know, I mean, Jamie Newman's already at Georgia, and they're going to be set up for the next couple of years with their 2020 quarterback and with Brock Vandagriff probably going to sign his national letter of intent there. Same thing with LSU. They're set up. Mississippi State's got KJ Costello. Ole Miss is set up, though we'll see what happens with John Rice Plumlee. That could be an interesting place for him with Lane Kiffin and what they're able to do. As a matter of fact, I kind of think that he fits the offense that he would want to run and has this kind of cerebral nature that you would want to see. Or it could end up at Tennessee and Jeremy Pruitt. He's just that good, I guess is the point that I am making here. And I am really interested to see what he decides to do and if Clay Helton can keep him around, because Helton went from having a really great recruiting class 3-4 years ago to being just a shambles now. Not just losing Bryce Young, but losing so many others that I thought would have been shoo-ins for USC even 2 years ago. The idea of Justin Flo leaving California to go to Oregon and not to a USC is a wholesale what's the word I'm thinking of? Not reprimand. Indictment of USC's recruiting, right? And that would be the one reason why I would kick Clay Helton out the door. Mike Bohn has given him another year. We'll see what that year holds. But you lose to JT Daniels, you got to believe that he's going to try to go into the coaching market after firing Clay Helton. And now with Bob Stoops very much out of the XFL, we actually have to entertain the possibility, once again, of Bob Stoops being a college football coach. And USC has had its claws out for an Urban Meyer, for a Bob Stoops, for some time, right? There was talk of James Franklin at Penn State, and then he got a raise and so forth, so on. And if you know it's that attractive a job, and you know that Clay Helton ain't getting it done on the recruiting end, and he's not going to have the players to go and win games, maybe you want to go look at one of those guys, or maybe you just want to promote from within and give Graham Harrell the job. Either way, I think USC is going to be sitting pretty here in a couple of years, even after they've shown that they're going to give their head coach an opportunity, especially after going 5-7 a couple of years ago, not being outstanding to start the season last year, and then reeling off several straight to win a Holiday Bowl. It's an interesting place right now, but it's getting more interesting with JT Daniels choosing to enter the transfer portal.